Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Minus The Hangover, a brand new podcast exploring no and low alcohol drinks with me, Christophe Phillips.
And with me, Pete Mason.
And you could say, Pete, we're a podcast that reaches the parts other podcasts can't reach, minus The Hangover. Huh? What do you think of that?
Very nice. I can't quite remember what beer that is from, but I can tell you, you can age you based on that. I don't think they've used it for quite some time. I want to say decades.
I want to say decades too. I think we're going back to, the 80s, maybe into the 90s. Was it Heineken?
Oh, who knows? Probably.
Anyway, we are here with a new podcast, so this is Minus The Hangover. Pete, the big question, let's get right into it. What is MTH? What is Minus The Hangover? What's it all about?
What we're all about? Well, we're going to be exploring the world of no and low alcohol drinks, or as we want to call them, NoLo. So it is a term that's out there, but it means no and low. Speaking about terminology, there's a lot of different terminology like AF, alcohol-free, or non-alcoholic, all that kind of stuff, and it's really quite confusing. So we're just going to stick with NoLo.
I think that's good because, it's one of those terms that I think a lot of us have become aware of. Certainly now, if you're listening to this podcast, you're kind of probably loosely aware of what a NoLo drink is. But there's also why we would drink this, how we even categorise it. And basically, we can say it's alternatives to standard alcoholic drinks. Would that be fair?
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's certainly one part of it. So you've got NoLo versions of beer, wine, cider, spirits, cocktails, alcopops, or I don't even know if they're called alcopops nowadays. They certainly were when we were growing up.
Aging ourselves again.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got kind of the versions of those of standard alcoholic drinks, but you've also got other drinks which are essentially aimed at adults. So you've got kind of natural drinks like things like kombucha, kvass as well, and then certain kind of juices and blends. And then you've got kind of manufactured soft drinks which aren't aimed at kids. So you've got various functional drinks which kind of like have things like CBD in them, which are supposed to have some kind of effect other than simply drinking or other than just caffeine, or even things like tonic water by itself, or certain sodas again which just aren't aimed at kids. So I think from our perspective, it is, if it doesn't have much or doesn't have any alcohol in and isn't aimed at kids, it's something that you might want to drink. I think that's what we're going to cover. Sound about right?
Yeah, but it's not just drinks that can replace kind of full-strength alcoholic versions. Some of them exist just in their own right. Some of them actually are brands that don't have an alcoholic version and a non-alcoholic version of the same kind of drink. Some just exist as NoLo brands entirely. But it's also, I think, key to say what we're not doing because, we're going to be covering a lot here and there's a lot of ground that we'll unearth, if you will, and really get into this. But what we're not really matters. And I know we've had a lot of conversations on that, Pete.
Absolutely.
We're not experts, yeah? We are not kind of head honchos in the brewing industry.
And I think it's fair to say as well that we haven't tried all the NoLo drinks out there. So a lot of this is kind of like us discovering along with our listeners. We're not being paid by anybody to talk about their drinks.
Ain't that the truth?
Well, absolutely. Yet, fingers crossed. Hello, Mr. Heineken. The other thing as well, I guess, is that we're not a wellness podcast. So
no,
we're not going to be talking about things like mindful drinking or being kind of like sober curious. And there's nothing wrong with those two things, but I think they're kind of covered by other podcasts, and I think it's people's motivations for drinking NoLo drinks or avoiding alcohol is all well and good, and I don't think we need to cover that. We're more about the drinks themselves.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, everyone comes in with a different set of motivations for either wanting to change their drinking habits or add something new into their experience, and discovering new drinks. And that's all fine. It's all well and good. We've got our own personal motivations, and we've been discovering kind of NoLo drinks pretty organically over the last few years, certainly as the sort of industry has grown and the availability of them, the wealth of different brands that you can get has grown. But again, it's, that's not our motivating factor in doing this podcast, that we're not trying to change anyone's mind about it. This is us, either exploring drinks that we've come across or completely new NoLo drinks to us, seeing what we think of it. So it's just about the drinks.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, like you say, we're not changing anyone's mind. We're not going to tell you alcohol is evil. We're not going to tell you that you've got to drink NoLo drinks, or even trying to sell the concept. We wanted to explore some NoLo drinks, so we thought we'd make a podcast because, as we've previously mentioned, we're middle-aged men. So, it kind of comes with the territory.
Well, that's it. And actually, we're not just middle-aged men, we're mates. And that's an important part of this. This is how this came about. This was literally us, I think, sitting over a campfire, deciding that this is an industry that's kind of grown and there's a lot of new drinks to discover. And it was just a conversation that we had. And we just found ourselves coming back to that conversation time and time again and thinking, well, there we go. Let's put this down as a podcast. We're mates and let's see what happens when we just chat about this. But that being said, we're not completely ignorant. We are coming at it from a different point of view. Myself and you, Pete. What's your background and what's your kind of link into all of this?
I used to run a brewery, so I do, unlike what Chris said a little bit earlier on, I do have a bit of industry knowledge. However, it is a decade old and things have changed. I mean, there's certain fundamentals, obviously. I can bring a little bit of kind of an industry or expert perspective on there. Also, the other thing I'm kind of looking at NoLo drinks from is the fact that I'm vegan and quite a lot of the beers aren't, which is quite frustrating. A lot of them have lactose, so like a milk derivative, basically. Certainly, I'll be bringing that kind of perspective to it. And in terms of, why I'm interested in NoLo drinks now, just, a bit of alcohol reduction during the week if I want something to drink and I just want one drink, or I just, want the taste of something beery or winey, whatever it is. Yeah, let's give NoLo a shot and see how it goes. So, yeah, I mean, that's really my perspective. How about you, Chris?
Well, I mean, similar in a way. I haven't run a brewery, but I worked as a barman for years and years. So actually you get exposed to lots of different sorts of drinks that you wouldn't just necessarily come across as a punter, as a kind of casual drinker in a pub. And that doesn't necessarily mean I've tried everything either. So again, not an expert, but aware of it from that end of the industry, I suppose. And some awareness of how things have shifted, because certainly when I was a barman, I mean, my last bar job was in 2009. So we're going back kind of 15, 16 years now. And NoLo drinks, I mean, it was Caliber. That's how far back we're going. It was the standard NoLo drink beer, and it was a beer, was Caliber, and there was no choice about it. And it wasn't a boom industry like we're seeing now. It certainly hadn't opened up in the way that it has today. So, I have a little bit of background working in bars and pubs, but also, like you, Pete, we found ourselves getting older. I'm in my 40s as well, mid-40s at that. And I'm a dad, so I've got a young kid, and I find the demands of my time have changed over the years. I want to be more present with her. I'm often got to rush off and sort of do more driving. And more recently, I actually had cancer. So I've been through a big kind of process of treatment and recovery. And part of that was that it changed certainly my relationship to alcohol, because I didn't have any for months and months, but still missed that side of things. But also, it kind of changed my taste buds a little bit. Now, this is something I don't want to get into too much, but it's something we'll probably touch on over the episodes, because taste is subjective anyway. This is definitely something we'll be touching on. We're not going to give kind of definitive rankings on if a beer is good or not. We'll give our judgment on it. But certainly, as I've come through that treatment and got a little bit older, I'm approaching NoLo drinks in their own right and not just in the context of alcoholic versions. And I think it's fair to say that when I taste something, it's only me tasting it. And when you try something, Pete, it's only really you tasting it. We can't say definitively if other people will like it, even if we're bringing our background into that conversation.
Yeah, it's all subjective. Both between people, but even kind of individually, your taste change throughout the day, depending on what you've just eaten or drunk, depending on how tired you are, depending how much attention you're paying to whatever it is you're eating or drinking. It's so subjective. And so having gone through an experience that has changed your taste buds isn't necessarily a reason not to try drinks. In fact, it's even more of a reason to taste some more drinks and just kind of like see how your palate has adapted and see what you want to drink.
That's right. So just to give it a little bit of context there, it's changed in quite specific ways. I taste less bitter now, and things taste sweeter as well. Now, weirdly, I've kind of learned to compensate for that. and I know what things used to taste like, so my brain kind of does half the heavy lifting on that. So, it's not a massive problem. It's just something I'm aware of, and I think it's only fair we make everyone else aware of it too.
In terms of what to expect from the podcast going forwards, each episode we're going to kind of focus on one thing, and that's going to be some kind of question. For example, Chris, what questions do you have about NoLo drinks?
Well, I think there are some straight off the bat. What is a NoLo drink? We've kind of touched on it, but there's more to it than that. We might look at the process and how they're made. We might look at why they cost as much as a standard alcoholic drink.
I think that's a really important point, because I think the number one question that people ask is, they're not paying alcohol tax on their Guinness Zero or whatever. Why does it cost the same price?
Yeah.
And the answer is actually quite complex. It's quite straightforward, but it's also quite complex. So that's definitely something we'll cover.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, there's a lot to unpack in this whole boom kind of industry, and why it's booming as well. One of the things we will be doing, though, we're not just going to be talking about drinks. We are going to be trying some drinks out. So we're going to be having, I think the aim is 3 drinks tastings per episode. We'll try and theme that around the one thing that we're focusing on each episode as much as we can. And look, we will sort of put it together as a review, but we are not interested in saying this is a 7 out of 10 or a 6.3 out of 10. It's just a bit arbitrary, isn't it? It's a bit of a strange way of doing it. In all the conversations we had, Pete, we actually distilled it down to one really simple way of thinking about it. Would we drink it? Do we like it? Is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? And actually, to that end, I think that's as far as we'll push the reviews. Do we like it? Is it thumbs up? Or don't we like it? Is it thumbs down?
Yeah, I think even to the extent, is it something we would literally purchase for ourselves, rather than being handed it at a party? My standards are going to be a bit lower. Would I go to a shop with the intention of buying this particular drink? And because it's not only kind of the quality of the drink, it's also the price that it's at as well. Is it actually worth the money? I don't think it's a problem that we're just basically just saying yes or no to a particular drink. The problem with kind of the more kind of formal drinks reviews is that they're trying to objectify something that's inherently subjective. As we were saying earlier on, people, they have different senses of taste. They like different things. You do get, certain reviews of drinks where they might assign a 5 out of 10 about how it looks, and or whatever it is, or a mark out of 10 for the aroma and another one for the flavour. And I think it kind of misses the point. All that really matters is it a good drink? Do you like it? I think beer tasting, for example, is a great hobby to have. And I think, there's something about it. It's a bit like train spotting in a way, but, I didn't say that, sorry, all the beer tasting people out there. But it is very, very geeky, and that's not a bad thing. But you can't objectively say this beer is a 56 out of 60 or whatever, and then have other people come to the same conclusion. So at the end of the day, we're going to tell you what we think about drinks, along with a thumbs up and thumbs down, and that's basically it.
Yeah, and the hope is that other people would agree, and we very much kind of would hope that you would go out and try these for yourselves, having learnt a little bit about it from us. But, by no means write anything off because we don't like it, or rush out to the shops because we did like it. It's still up to you, and it's subjective. However, that being said, I think it's time that we get right in. We've got to try some drinks. We've got 3 different drinks we're going to be trying today. Not all beers, but we do have 2 beers and 1 wine. But we're going to start off with Lucky Saint IPA. So let's get straight on with our tastings. Our very first drink we're going to be trying is the Lucky Saint Hazy IPA. It's 0.5% alcohol, vegan-friendly label. It's got 59 calories, which is about half to maybe a third of a normal lager. That's 3.7 grams carbohydrate, of which 0.1 gram is sugar. So it's actually very low in sugar. They also say there's no additives or flavourings, but you can find it widely available in the UK in most supermarkets. And it is priced like a premium IPA. So around about £6 for 4 cans. I think let's open it up and give it a try. It's got a good head. It's got nice carbonation on it. It is hazy. It's not the haziest I've ever seen. And it's got the right sort of smell as well, that kind of slightly funky feel that you get with IPAs rather than you do with lagers.
Yeah, it's quite, it's quite fruity, sort of tropical fruit, bit of citrus. So yeah, I mean, it smells like the real deal. It smells like a normal lager, a normal IPA, to be honest.
Yeah, and it looks the part as well. So I think if you walk past someone who had a drink of this, you wouldn't guess that this was a NoLo drink. Let's go in for a taste.
That's quite nice. I mean, like a lot of NoLo IPAs that I've had, the smell is pretty much identical or very, very close to like a standard IPA. And there's something slightly missing in terms of body in the taste itself. It's good, and one thing I quite like about it is fairly bitter, which is what you want out of an IPA. IPAs should be bitter, the sort of standard ones. And yeah, no, this is still kind of, it's fruity. You can't really kind of taste the sort of malt of it. It is mainly hops, but there is enough body so that it doesn't feel completely empty. I mean, I really like it. I don't think it's my favourite, but I'd quite happily drink that, definitely.
Yeah, so I'm getting a similar thing, but what I'm getting is actually the body really works for me. It sort of feels quite thick. It has body. I know that seems an obvious thing to say, but it's almost like it's got lactose in to thicken it up. But I know it doesn't because I know it's vegan. Just looking at the ingredients, it's pale malts and New World hops. So that's Citra, Mosaic, and Simcoe.
So the hops themselves, Citra, Mosaic, and Simcoe, they are probably my favourite American hops. They're really, really good, and each one of them could work just by itself in a beer, which isn't true of all hops. So they're quite complex ones. And I think, you can definitely sort of taste them in it. I think there's a little bit wasted in a sense because I can't really taste them that much. I can smell them, definitely.
Yeah.
But honestly, overall, I'm quite happy drinking that.
Okay, so do you want to get straight into giving it your kind of score, as it were, your thumbs up or your thumbs down? Would you put your money on the counter and buy this?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a thumbs up from me. It's not the best one I've had, but yeah, it is good, and I have bought it before, and I will again.
Oh,
so I'd be lying if I said thumbs down.
I do think a little bit of those hops are a bit lost, and I'd like a little bit more dynamism coming through in the taste. But I'm quibbling. It's a very good hazy IPA. It works as a NoLo drink, and I think it works in its own right as well. So not just thinking of it as a non-alcoholic version of a IPA. I think it's a very nice drink in its own right. So yeah, from me also a thumbs up. But there is one little part that's controversial, and I just want to touch on it just at the end. It says very proudly everywhere it's non-alcoholic, but it is very slightly alcoholic. It's got 0.5% alcohol. So there's a controversy there, and that is also something we're definitely going to be touching on. However, for now, I think it's time we'll move on. Let's get to our second drink, Pete. This is one that you've brought in for us. So
so this is Nozeco. So this is probably a drink that most people have seen in the supermarket. It's sparkling wine. It's, as you can maybe guess by the name, Nozeco. It is a NoLo version of Prosecco. Should we open it?
So a nice pop. Shows that there's a good level of fizz in there. Let's give it a pour. In the glass, it looks absolutely like a sparkling wine that would have alcohol in. So no difference just to look at it.
This smells nice. It smells of kind of grapes, which is good.
Yes, but not as much as a Schlur or a grape juice would. So they've definitely tipped it over into feeling like it's a wine smell.
Absolutely. And it's quite floral as well. I quite like it. I'm just going to give it a quick taste.
Well, I think that works very nice. There's definitely a lot of fizz on your tongue, which it gives you that mouthfeel of a sparkling wine that you're used to.
It's a really nice kind of fizz as well. It's not carbonated like a soft drink. It does feel like a wine.
And it has that very nice acidic feel that you want from a sparkling wine that kind of dries the tongue, dries the inside of the mouth out a little bit and makes you want to drink another little sip. You don't want lots in one go but it definitely kind of prompts you. It suggests, this is a celebration. Have another little sip.
In terms of kind of flavour, I think it's very kind of straightforward. So again, it tastes kind of like grapes, but again, fermented grapes. It tastes like wine in its most sort of simple form. Compared to like really cheap Prosecco, this is between £3 and £3.50 a bottle in the supermarket. And, what's your cheapest Prosecco is going to be like a £5 or maybe slightly more. And that's kind of borderline undrinkable. And this actually tastes really quite nice. Very easy drinking.
Yes, no, I'd agree with that. It's definitely, I've had much worse cheap Asties in my time. This has a lot more going on for it. It's drier, which I think isn't just about the taste, it's about the mouthfeel, what it does to, as part of your drinking experience. And I think that's so important. And it kind of looks the part. Honestly, I think that stands up very well. I'm pretty fooled by that. I think that's pretty good.
I think this is probably the best value NoLo drink that I've found. It does a really good job. Worth saying, just about the drink itself, as I'm sure everyone knows, you can get it in pretty much any supermarket. It's around $3 to $3.50. It's sold in a standard wine bottle. It is less than 0.5% alcohol. It is labelled as vegan. Apparently it is gluten-free as well, although I couldn't see it on the label. In terms of calories, it's 70 per 250 mils. Ingredients-wise as well, because a lot of NoLo wines are a bit of a horror show, and this isn't that bad as far as they go. So the biggest ingredient is de-alcoholized wine. So it really is wine that's in here. And then they add a bit of sugar, a bit of carbon dioxide, a bit of citric acid, which I think is what provides the kind of the sourness and the dryness in large part. And then they put some preservatives as well, usual sulfites that you get in pretty much any wine. In terms of the brand, the Nozeco has actually been around since 2017, would you believe? Although I don't remember seeing it.
Maybe not that far back, but it's certainly been on my radar for a while. And again, it never fell in the category like the old Caliber did, where it was reluctant. It was always like, look, this is actually a pretty credible and positive choice that people are making. And I think because it stands up well in its own terms, I think it has entered the cultural thinking, and people are kind of aware of it. I think a lot of people actively choose it because, I think it works very well.
Yeah, and in terms of where it kind of comes from, there's a massive French wine company, and apologies to any French listeners, called Le Grand Chai de Franc, or de France. I think it might be France rather than Franc, and I think I've just, when I cut and pasted it, I missed the E out. Anyway, whatever their name is, they own a few big brands of wine. I think the most famous one is probably the JP Chenet ones. You'll see them in any supermarket, and they've got sort of a bottle which is half melted.
Yeah.
So it's quite an unusual, unique bottle. And normally their wines are about £6 for their standard stuff. And actually, incidentally, the JP Chenet brand also has a NoLo version as well called So Free. So at some point, I'm sure we'll get around to trying that. So Nozeco started off as Nozeco, so with an S rather than a Z, and with two C's rather than one. But apparently they had to change their name because the Prosecco manufacturers weren't particularly happy.
The lawyers came knocking on the door and said, "Stop it!"
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's to do with all the sort of protected names, all that kind of stuff, because this actually comes from France rather than Italy as well. So I imagine that's what that was about. But yeah, overall, I think that's really good. I think this wine is so good that I think it's probably distorted the market, because in order to be kind of noticeably better than this, you'd have to be really, really good. And this is so cheap. This is incredibly cheap, because if you look out there at other similar kind of Prosecco sparkling wine, they're all quite cheap, and they're all cheaper than the still versions. And I think that's because of Nozeco. I think that came in, charged very, very little for actually a really quite nice product. And it is that good. I mean, again, just to reiterate, this isn't an amazing drink. It's a nice one, and it's very, very good value.
I think it is an amazing drink. I think it's very well balanced. I think it captures the experience and the reasons why you'd have a sparkling wine in the first place. It looks the part, it feels the part when you're drinking it, and you just don't miss it. You don't miss the alcohol out of it. Am I saying if I stood it up to a very good champagne that it would come out on top? Probably not. But I think it really works. And I agree with you. I think it has distorted the market. I think it's come in, as one of those products where they absolutely nailed it early on, and everyone else is scrambling to try and outdo it. Can you and still keep it as a NoLo drink? That's a big question. And I don't know. I think they've nailed it. I think it's really good. I'm just going to jump straight in. I love it. I think it's really successful. I have bought it in the past. I'm converted to NoLo drinks partly because of this. I think it really stands up and it's very well balanced. It's a resounding thumbs up from me.
Yeah, same here. No notes, thumbs up. That is 2 thumbs up for Nozeco Brut.
Excellent. Well, look, we're going to move on to our third drink. This is a fruited beer from Merakai Brewing Company. Now, the reason we've chosen this is that I actually live in Worthing on the south coast in West Sussex, and this is a local brewery to me. And one time when Pete was over, we were wandering through the town centre and we went into a little micro pub that is run by the brewery. So we discovered, some of the beers that they had on, but also their own goods and wares, as it were. So this is Merakai Brewing Company. They've got 2 different canned beers that they sell, but we're going to be trying the Berry Berry Nice. Now, they say on the website it's a fruited beer. On the can, they call it an AF fruited sour. So alcohol is 0.5%. It cost us at the time £3.80, which you might think is a lot, maybe not. We're going to get into that a little bit. Based on the second beer in their Fruited Goes or Froze series, it's an alcohol-free beer. It really hits the spot. Well, that's what they claim. So, just a little bit of background. The hops they use are lemon drop. The adjuncts are blueberry, banana, strawberry, marshmallow, and vanilla. Not sure why they call that an adjunct and not just a taste.
Well, no. So an adjunct is literally an ingredient of beer that isn't a normal one. So what they're saying is they've literally put blueberry, banana, strawberry, marshmallow, and vanilla in.
Oh, okay. Right, well, there you go. See, I'm not an expert. I do not know these things. But they claim it's the berry fruits and the vanilla that come through on the nose and a creamy berry flavour with a sherbet finish. It's vegan friendly. It's 440 mils a can, so it's a larger can than some of them. Nothing else that is particularly surprising in the ingredients. Water, hops, yeast, gluten, so it's not gluten-free, wheat, barley and oats. But gently roll before opening. Now, what's that all about, Pete?
Yeah, so I have had one of these before. And they're basically saying to roll it because there's a lot of sediment in there. And it should be there because it's literally mashed up blueberries, bananas, strawberries, marshmallow. And you definitely don't shake it as well because obviously there's some carbonation. So that's why you want to gently roll it to kind of distribute the contents of the can throughout because they will have sunk to the bottom.
Okay, I'm going to open it up. I've given it a gentle roll as instructed. Let's see what we think. Okay, so first impression is that it's slightly kind of pinky, almost like a grapefruit juice colour. It doesn't really look like a beer, to be honest.
It looks like a fruit smoothie. That's what it looks like, but a fizzy fruit smoothie.
It's definitely got kind of particles suspended in it, or it feels like it does. It's kind of hard when you look at it to quite tell what's going on. There is definite carbonation, but there's no head.
If you give it a roll around your glass, what you'll see sticking to the glass is tiny little bits of fruit. So it's kind of like one of your 5 a day, possibly 2.
Okay, yeah, I can get on board with that. But if you count marshmallows as one of your 5 a day.
He wouldn't.
So going in for a smell, it smells fruity. It doesn't smell particularly beery, but it doesn't smell just like fruit juice either. So there's definitely something else going on. And it smells quite sweet, quite inviting, actually. It's a nice smell. It's not an off-putting kind of bad smell that you can get through the brewing process.
It almost smells like fruit crossed with beer, which kind of sounds obvious, but it's not, because most fruit beers don't smell like that. They smell like beer.
That's true.
Whereas this really doesn't.
Right, let's go in on a taste.
It's quite thick. Again, it's not as thick as a smoothie. If you were to mix pale ale and a fruit smoothie, I think this is what you'd come out with. Because that's basically what it is. And it is, I think, delicious. I really, really like it.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I almost feel confused by it. Because it's sort of fruit, it's sort of beer, but it's kind of, because it's not leaning towards one or the other, it's falling somewhere in between. And I feel a little bit lost by that. I do like it. It's got enough acidity that it makes me want to drink more. You know, it kind of promotes returning to it. But do I love it? I don't know. I feel a bit confused by it.
I'm a big fan. Definitely. I really enjoyed the first time I had it. This is exactly the same. I will buy this again.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the confusion that I'm struggling to get past. I think I like it. And I think actually it does work because there is that sort of fruitiness, but because of the sourness, it doesn't feel that it's just sweetness that overpowers everything. But I'm not sure enough of the beeriness comes through either. I like it. I'm not entirely convinced, I think. But I think I do like it. And I think it does stand apart from so many others. At least they're trying something different. And at least they've made it work in its own terms. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up. It's not quite as resounding as the Lucky Saint or Nozeco, but I do like it and I would buy it.
Yeah, 100%. Thumbs up. I do wonder, incidentally, whether or not the next time that you come to drink this, you'll have a different experience because you know what to expect.
That's very true.
That's something that really kind of affects how you taste things. You know, if you know what you're going to be putting in your mouth at any second, you're equipping your brain to kind of deal with that. And if it's something different to what your expectation is, you're confused. Your taste buds are kind of, what are they telling me? As I say, this is my second time of trying it, and I do wonder whether that has an element of it. Because the first time I tried it, yes, I was also similarly, okay, not sure what's going on. And then by the time I'd finished it, it was like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's good. And this time, from the very start, yeah, delicious, love it.
I think you're onto something there because absolutely with the Nozeco, recreating that experience of what a sparkling wine is and does and why you would have it is so much part of what you're getting when you drink it. Yeah, I agree. Maybe coming back to it, I'll like it more. I do like it. I just want to say that. I do like it, but because it falls between beer and fruit in a way that I'm not used to, I'm struggling to ease into it. It's not a comfy sofa for me just yet. Well, look, there we go, folks. I mean, that is our very first episode of Minus The Hangover. We've touched on 3 different drinks. We've had 3 different experiences, but actually, we've had 6 thumbs ups. It's been a lot of fun, actually, and it was really nice for us, I think, to hit the ground running with drinks that we like and different sorts of drinks, and we're going to keep that up as we go forward. It won't always just be beer. There's going to be ciders, there's going to be more wines, reds maybe, as well as whites. We're going to be trying lots of different things as well as kombuchas and all of these different things. So watch this space. But if you did like what you heard today, we are going to be continuing. So please hit that follow button on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, and please do spread the word. You can find us on X or Twitter, as sane people call it, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, Linktree, all the socials. Just search for @-the-hangover, all one word. And if you've got a question you'd like to put to us or a drink you'd like us to review, please do get in touch. We'll do our best.
Next episode, what we've got in store is this. The question, why do NoLo drinks cost basically the same as standard ones?
It's a big question.
It is one of the biggest questions, and it is one of the most frequent questions as well. So we're going to be handling that. No spoilers, except to say we'll be trying 3 more drinks. We're going to be trying Guinness Zero, Thatcher's Zero, and then also a kombucha, Hip Hop, Cherry and Blackberry.
So there we go. That's next week, and this has been the very first episode of Minus The Hangover. Hope you've enjoyed it. I've been Christophe Phillips, and will continue to be Christophe Phillips for the rest of the day and indeed the rest of my life. But I will, of course, be returning with the wonderful
Pete Mason, thank you very much.
And we hope you can join us next time. Till then, have a great week and enjoy whatever drink takes your fancy minus the hangover. Cheers. Bye-bye now.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Hello again. Yes, we are back. No, your ears are not deceiving you. It was the end of the episode, but we've decided to come back with just a little bit extra that we're going to call After Hours.
Yeah, so this is kind of a post-match, post-mortem, I think, to kind of mix metaphors, kind of a post-credit scene. Yes, we had a couple of things to say about the episode, didn't we?
Yeah, so the very first thing that came to mind, actually, was we did our review on Nozeco. Now, obviously, that's quite a big bottle to drink all of it in the review itself. And I didn't, I actually took it downstairs, I put it in the fridge, I put a little cork in the top and saved it for a few days when I then had my mum over for lunch. And I offered it to her because she was driving and she actually doesn't really drink anyway. Would you like a glass of this Nozeco? Now, I did tell her I've opened it a few days ago, but you're welcome to have it if you want it. And she said, yes, that'd be fine. And actually, we all ended up having a glass of this over this roast dinner that I cooked. And you know what? 4 days later, it was still fizzy and it still tasted really good. Now, I can't think of a single champagne that would be true of. It always loses its fizz, and it's one of the big complaints that people have with champagne or Nozeco, or Prosecco rather, that I'm not going to open a bottle because I only want one glass and it won't keep. Well, Nozeco does keep, and it was fizzy. What do you think to that, Pete?
So did you have it in the fridge?
I had it in the fridge. I had a cork stopper on the top, so hopefully that did some good.
And no, it will have done. So essentially, keeping it in the fridge helps because colder liquids hold more CO2. And also, you did absolutely the right thing by stopping it. Well, it's an old wives' tale that if you put a spoon in the neck of like champagne or something, I mean, it's nonsense.
It does nothing. It does nothing.
By what mechanism could that possibly work?
Yes.
Whereas, if you cover it, believe it or not, it stops gas getting out. I mean, who knew? Who knew? So, that's really good. I mean, it is quite nice because particularly, like when you've got like a 750ml bottle, even though there's no alcohol in it, I don't necessarily want to drink that much NoLo wine. I
was very happy to give it a thumbs up already, and I'm doubly happy to give it a thumbs up now. I think that's very cool. 2 thumbs up.
Well, so indeed. That's 3 thumbs up in total then. Yes, okay. So that was Nozeco. I mean, again, I agree, very good, and I'm going to be buying that again. And I have actually bought it since we recorded that episode as well. So,
me too. Yes. In fact, me too. Partly because of the fizz returning. I thought that was really cool.
Indeed.
But the other thing I wanted to talk about was the Merakai. Now, we did the review there, and at the time, me and you were on a different page when it came to describing the drink that we could see in our glass. Let's just play that audio clip. It doesn't really look like a beer, to be honest.
It looks like a fruit smoothie. That's what it looks like, but a fizzy fruit smoothie.
It's definitely got kind of particles suspended in it, or it feels like it does. It's kind of hard when you look at it to quite tell what's going on. There is definite carbonation. And there you can hear, of course, Pete saying it's like a fruit smoothie, and me saying, well, there are particles floating in it. Now, the thing is, after the review, I then decided to finish up that can, and I poured out the rest of it. And that's when the rest of the body, the substance of the drink came out. And wow, it really is thick. It really was like a fruit smoothie. And it seems that the first time that I'd opened it and gently rolled it, I'd been a little bit too gentle in my rolling.
It is a delicate balance, to be fair, because, I mean, you do need to roll it. You don't want to shake it because it will go everywhere. Yeah. So, you could be losing out on fruit either way, basically.
Yeah. Now, it was a very different drink the second time, or with that second pour, because it was, so thick with all the fruits and things like that. But you know what? It made me understand a lot more about where you were coming from, about what you liked about it, what you didn't. Has it completely changed my mind about if I like it as a drink? No. But it was a different experience.
That was Merakai. The other beer we tried was Lucky Saint, and to be honest, I've not got much else to say about that. It's not the best IPA, but it's good. It's not their best beer, but it's good. Yeah. I just think their lager's, overall a bit better. Oh, one more thing I wanted to say about as well. At the beginning of the episode, we were talking about what kind of drinks we would cover.
Oh, yeah.
And I mentioned something called kvass. And I just wanted to kind of like expand a little bit on that because most people probably haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I know the name. I don't really know what it is.
Well, I've said before to you, Chris, that basically beer is liquid bread, because it is. And if you go back in terms of kind of when bread was invented, beer was invented at exactly the same time. For this reason, it's got basically the same ingredients.
Yeah.
But kvass is even breadier beer than beer is. It is literally made out of bread, rye bread. So you get little kind of cubes of rye bread and you kind of like put water on it and ferment it naturally. So it's kind of a bit kind of like sour, and it's a really, really big drink over in kind of Central Eastern, Northeastern Europe.
Okay.
And there's only one commercial producer I have found of it in the UK. So I'm not going to mention any names because I would like them to get in touch and send us some free samples, because I will try it. But that's what kvass is.
Folks, there you go. That is now officially the end of episode 1. We hope you've enjoyed what you've listened to. Please do join us again, and please do spread the word. From us, it's another goodbye, a second goodbye, as it were. But please do enjoy your week. Enjoy whatever it is you're drinking. And, of course, enjoy that minus the hangover. And we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Cheers then. Bye-bye.